And we're back here in WrestleRant. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews. All November long, we've been breaking down every installment in WWE Survivor Series history. From 1987 to 2014, I'm breaking down every single show, with the exception of those I reviewed last year. So if you're new to the series, be sure to check out my reviews of Survivor Series 1990, 96, 97, 98, 01, 02, 03, 05, 08, 2011 and 2012 from last year, all right here on WrestleRant. I can't tell you the exact numbers of those episodes, but they are on here, up on the channel from last November if you want to check it out. So today we're breaking down Survivor Series 2009. I talked about 08 from 7 years ago yesterday, and 09 was 6 years ago from Sunday. I talked about 08 last year, so we're breaking down Survivor Series 09 here today. Funny thing was, I have never seen this show in the 7 years I've been a fan, much like some of the other pay-per-views. I had never seen this show up until last year, and I had been a fan for 6 years by that point. I had never seen this pay-per-view, despite having the WWE Network, and I believe I watched it on the 5-year anniversary of it. And it's funny, too, because I never really thought it was the greatest show of all time, and it wasn't, but it was a very good show, considering how bad the build was to this show. Now, I don't normally do this for a lot of the pay-per-views because I'd never really seen the build to a lot of these shows that I wasn't a fan for, but from 08 onward, I usually offer more analysis than usual because I know where the build was coming from, and I was a fan at that time, so I kind of remember. But anyway, Survivor Series 2009, the build was so bad that the buy rate for this show was down 80,000 from the year before. That is absolutely atrocious, and one of the many reasons why Vince almost, at the very last second, he stopped himself, but at the very last second, at one point, Survivor Series was planned to be canceled altogether after the terrible buy rate this pay-per-view did. It had nothing to do with the show itself. It was a very good show, but they didn't treat it like anything special in the weeks going into it. I mean, they had Raw and MSG and the go-home show before the pay-per-view, but other than that, the main events on this show, while very good on the show itself, you would never know that based off the build. The WWE title match between Cena, Triple H, and Michaels was focused all around D-Generation X and fucking Hornswoggle of all things. They didn't even bother to mention, tease tension between Triple H and Michaels, or DX and Cena, or tease the possibility of the WWE title coming home to D-Generation. Like, all these different factors weren't even acknowledged, and they were surprised that the buy rate was so low. It was ridiculous. But anyway, this is Survivor Series 2009, and I did talk about Cena, Triple H, Michaels in the main event for the WWE Championship in the Triple Threat in a separate article on Next Era Wrestling on the 6-year anniversary of the match on Sunday if you want to check it out, but I'll be reiterating my thoughts on that match during the course of this review. So kicking off the show was a traditional 5-on-5 elimination Survivor Series tag team match, pitting Team Miz, The Miz, Sheamus, Jack Swagger, Dolph Ziggler, and Drew McIntyre against Team Morrison, John Morrison, Finlay, Shelton Benjamin, Evan Bourne, and Matt Hardy. A very fun match and a complete contrast. Not so much, but you have a lot of young guys in this one match, specifically on the heel side. You had The Miz, who was United States champion at that period in time, was on the rise on Raw. McIntyre was on the rise on SmackDown. Sheamus had just moved to Raw. Dolph Ziggler, the first one gone from his team, but he had a good showing, and he had been just involved in the IC title picture over on SmackDown. And Jack Swagger had moved to Raw as well after being one of the biggest, one of the fastest rising superstars in the history of WWE's ECW. So a lot of bright and hungry stars on the heel side of things. On the face side, you had a lot of credible competitors. You had John Morrison, Evan Bourne, who was kind of on the rise and a popular fixture on Raw. You had Finlay over on SmackDown. You had Shelton Benjamin from ECW and Matt Hardy as well. So it made for a very compelling contest. A lot of these guys were already involved in different feuds. Sheamus had been feuding with Benjamin. Miz and Morrison were on an on and off feud. McIntyre had kind of a feud, a pseudo feud going on with Finlay at that time, and Matt Hardy was kind of on and off feuding with Dolph Ziggler and a few others. So you had a wide variety of different feuds here, and it made for a very fun opening match. And I love the sole survivors of Miz, McIntyre, and Sheamus. All three guys were on the rise, more so than Ziggler and Swagger. McIntyre, and the funny thing is that McIntyre and Sheamus would win their first titles in WWE the very next month at TLC. So this was obviously preparing them for the future for the very next month at TLC and kind of setting the stage for that show. Morrison was the last man standing, had a good showing, but was ultimately overwhelmed by the trio of Miz, McIntyre, and Sheamus. And Miz, while he would not win gold, he already was champion. He was the United States champion already by the time in this show, and he would go on to win Money in the Bank, Tag Team title, WWE title, I believe exactly a year later. Or no, maybe not. Yeah, wait. On the 22nd. That happened on, I don't know, the 23rd? Yeah, no, it did. Exactly a year later after this show, he would win the WWE Championship on Raw. So all three of these guys went on to acclaim critical success in WWE. So after that, we had Batista versus Rey Mysterio. Really more of an angle than it was a match. Batista just turned heel at bragging rights, and they were in his native Washington, D.C., so probably not the best time to turn Batista because the crowd was red hot for the guy more. They weren't booing Rey Mysterio, but they were very hot for Batista than they were the Master of the 619. It was an okay match, not really the match that you would expect with kind of the David versus Goliath. It was all Batista, all the rage, all the aggression, just letting it all out on Rey Mysterio and just attacking the hell out of him. But the story they told I thought was great because at never at any one point in the matchup did Batista go for a pinfall cover. He was just more so determined on just beating the living crap out of Rey Mysterio and making him leave on a stretcher, which is exactly what he did. He delivered 3 Batista bombs, by which point, after not even bothering to pin him, or attempt to pin him, the referee just called for the bell and Batista won via referee stoppage. And even after that, even after the match ended, Batista brought in a steel chair, laid it in the middle of the ring, and delivered a spine buster to Rey Mysterio on top of the steel chair. And Rey Mysterio, I believe, was written out for the next 3 to 4 weeks. But it was a great way of writing out, putting the heat on Batista and kind of making him look like a strong heel right out of the gate, which he should have been. The guy was a great heel, Batista. I don't think it's really necessarily underrated. I think a lot of people realize how great of a heel he was at that time from late 2009 to early 2010. And even when he was bitching and moaning and in the wheelchair and all that kind of stuff in early 2010, it was still entertaining as all hell. And that was the heel that he should have been when he came back initially. He would end up becoming that heel again by the latter half of his run in 2014. But that's what he should have been from the get-go. That's what people loved most about Batista. More than any of the years that he spent as a babyface from 2005 to 2009. But a nice angle. The feud was further between Batista and Rey Mysterio. We would never really get the proper blow-off to this feud. They had a match, I believe a street fight on SmackDown a couple weeks later when Rey Mysterio came back. I'm pretty sure Batista won that too. I don't know if they would have another match after that. Batista would get involved in like the world title matches or... No, I'm pretty sure Ray beat Batista in like a steel cage or something like that, or beat the clock on SmackDown in early 2010 to earn the title shot at the Rumble. But I don't really know if that was the blow-off, because he would attack Taker and Ray in like the go-home show before the Rumble. I don't know. But anyway, a good feud though, and a good match from Batista and Rey Mysterio. So after that, our second 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series elimination tag team match of the night, pitting Team Kingston, Kofi Kingston, MVP, Mark Henry, R-Truth, and Christian against Team Orton, Randy Orton, The Legacy, Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase, Punk, and William Regal. Another very good matchup that was more storyline driven than the previous one, which was kind of more about the in-ring action. This also had some great in-ring action. You kind of got a tease of what Christian and Orton were capable of 2 years ahead of their awesome feud on SmackDown. Personally, one of my favorite feuds of all time from an in-ring standpoint. They had a great exchange here. Christian at one point had Orton down and out, but the Legacy broke up the pin. He got eaten, he ate the RKO, and it was down to Kingston and the Legacy, or Kingston and Orton and Punk after that. So yeah, it was a great match. And you had a lot of different components here. I think, MVP and Mark Henry were kind of teaming at that time. R-Truth was involved in an on and off feud with CM Punk. Regal and Christian had their feud going on at that time. And then Kingston and Orton. This was during the time that Kofi Kingston was on the rise in WWE, of course. Only 6 days removed from his epic moment in MSG when he took out Randy Orton through the commentating table. But anyway, a very, very good match. Like I said, it would get down to Kingston versus Orton and Punk. After a great back and forth between Punk and Kingston, a feud that I was desperately wanting to see for many years, ultimately we would not get it. We would get one-on-one match, if that makes sense. One singles match between them in May of 2011, but that was the only time that they ever faced off in singles competition, which is a shame because after their history as tag team partners and as tag team champions, they could have been really, really capable of having a great match had it been one-on-one. But we got a little bit of a taste of that here, and it was a good match. So Kingston would pin Punk with a roll-up, and then immediately as Orton came into the ring, one of the most established and successful sole survivors in the event's history, he comes in the ring and immediately eats a Trouble in Paradise from Kingston. He pins him for the 1-2-3. No bullshit, no gimmickry. He immediately hits his finisher, pins Orton for the 1-2-3, and picks up the biggest win of his career in an amazing moment right after the MSG stuff. It was a great boost for Kofi Kingston. Of course, it would go all downhill from there in his feud with Orton. He would get pinned, and he would get beaten. And it was back to mid-card purgatory after that. But regardless, it was an amazing moment for Kofi Kingston. In an overall good match, I don't know which I would call the better of between this one and the opener, but I think they both serve two very different purposes, the one being more in-ring action-based and focusing on the future, and not really one feud over the other, and this one was a lot, very focused in on Kingston and Orton, and it succeeded in doing just that, and a great match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So after that, a triple threat match for the World Heavyweight Championship, The Undertaker defending against Chris Jericho and The Big Show. There was never really one point in the build where I thought either member of Jericho had any chance of winning the world title, which is why the buy rate was so low. The ending outcomes of these matches weren't really in doubt for the most part. They kind of teased it on the SmackDown before. They showed it in a replay when Jericho laid out Big Show with a code breaker, I believe. But that was about it. And the match itself, though, I thought was actually really good, considering who was involved. The Taker Big Show match, the casket match from the year prior, I was not a big fan of that feud, much less that match. I thought it was kind of dull and boring and just long and uninteresting. But I thought this match was a big improvement over that, and a lot of it might have had to do with Chris Jericho. And this was also the very notable event where Jericho said, where a fan screamed at Jericho as he was throwing Taker back into the ring. Someone said, "Go back to Toronto," and he said, "I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot." The most famous line, probably in Survivor Series history. Is hilarious, but that happened during the course of this contest. But yeah, very good match. You had Jericho and Big Show kind of teaming up at some points and turning on each other at other points in the bout later on. But it led to Undertaker locking Big Show in the Hell's Gate, forcing him to tap out and successfully retaining his World Heavyweight Championship. So, a better than expected match given who was involved. I know Jericho can contest great matches for the rest of his life. But, given that Taker and Big Show were involved and they aren't the greatest workers when they're against each other, it made for a very compelling triple threat. The ending outcome was never in doubt, as I mentioned, but it was still a much better bout than I gave it credit for going in. So after that, our third and final 5-on-5 traditional elimination Survivor Series tag team match of the night, pitting Team Mickey James, Melina, Gail Kim, Eve Torres, and Kelly Kelly, against Team Michelle McCool, Beth Phoenix, Layla, Alicia Fox, and Jillian Hall. This was right around the time they started doing Lay Cool. Or maybe it wasn't. Yeah, this was 2009. This was right around the time they started doing Lay Cool. It might have been, I don't know if it was official by that point. I think it pretty much was. I'm pretty sure they came down together, but regardless. Kind of a throwaway match. There really wasn't any one notable feud. Mickey was just kicking off her feud with Michelle and Layla at that time, so there really wasn't any heat on that feud for the most part. Mickey had just got sent to SmackDown. Then all the other women were just kind of there. Really, the only thing worth noting about this match, while watching, my brother pointed out that only one of these women from of the 10 of them from this pay-per-view, this is only 6 years ago. It's not 10 years ago. Only one of the women from this match is still employed by the company. Coincidentally enough, it was Alicia Fox, who was the last person you would think would still be with the company, but Mickey left in 2010, Kelly in 2012, Melina in 2011, Gail Kim in 2011, Eve in 2013, Michelle McCool in 2011, Jillian Hall in 2010, Beth in 2012, Layla this past year, and Alicia Fox is still there, which is crazy, which really goes to show that typically, more often than not, that the lifespan or the career span of a diva in WWE does not ordinarily last longer than about 5 or 6 years. Which is funny that Trish and Lita were here for 6 years, I'm pretty sure both of them. And now Natalia's been here for about 7 years. The Bella Twins over 7 years as well. Alicia Fox, 7, 8 years. So it's crazy to think about it. Fucking Rosa Mendez, 7 years. Wasn't won a match ever, with the exception of one via DQ. But anyways, it was an okay match. Nothing really wrong with this match, but it didn't do anything to really get me excited about any feuds that were involved, if there were any, in this matchup. Kind of a basic filler match, and I guess it succeeded in being just that. So we get to the main event. John Cena defends the WWE Championship against Triple H and Shawn Michaels in a triple threat match. So like I said, I go in much more detail in the new article that I have up on nextairwrestling.net if you want to check it out. Link is down below to the website. But I talked about watching this match on the 6-year anniversary on Saturday, or on Sunday rather. No, I watched it on Saturday. The 6-year anniversary is on Sunday. That's when I put the article up. But like I said, the build was absolutely awful because the entire build was just about freaking Hornswoggle being a part of DX. Who cares? What does it have anything to do with this title match? Hornswoggle was not even involved, so why would I care about whether he's an honorary member of DX or not? You know, it's so stupid. Didn't make the match feel as meaningful as it possibly could have been, considering these are the three biggest names of all time. John Cena, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H. A match we had never seen before, we'll never see again, and that's why it was so special. But the best part about this match probably came in the first 10 seconds, when the bell rang, all three men on opposite sides of the ring from one another, and then, without even saying a single word, Shawn Michaels delivers a sweet chin music to Triple H out of nowhere. And Triple H goes right over the top rope and is out of the equation for the next 5 to 10 minutes. And John Cena just stands there looking shocked with his jaw on the floor, much like the rest of the audience. It was an amazing moment. The crowd went wild for it. And Michael Cole saying, oh, that's typical. That's vintage Shawn Michaels, which is absolutely true. You think back to his tag teams with John Cena himself. You think back to his teams with Hulk Hogan, Marty Jannetty, and everyone else that he's turned his back on over the years. And it made for a classic HBK moment. And it was a great way of kicking off the match and really sending the message that anything is possible. And that's what happened throughout the match. And a lot of great action, never really a dull point. Triple H would get back involved, helped Shawn take out John Cena before laying him out with a spine buster through the commentary table. Great spot. And the finish I thought was fantastic. Now let me see if I can get this right. Now, Shawn Michaels is going for a pile driver on Triple H, okay? Triple H reverses by, kind of throwing him over his shoulders, but in doing that, Shawn gets caught on John Cena's shoulders for an attitude adjustment. But before he can deliver the attitude adjustment, Triple H reverses, kicks Cena in the gut, and goes for a pedigree. But before he can hit the pedigree, Shawn Michaels hits a sweet chin music on Triple H. He goes down, and before he can capitalize, John Cena capitalizes, hits the AA on Shawn Michaels on top of Triple H. Pretty sure pins Triple H to get the 1, 2, 3. Great finish, great match, and by far, I would even say one of the best matches of 2009, from what I understand, from what I remember anyway, other than, of course, Shawn and Taker from WrestleMania, but still a great match. Even though the build was awful, you never really had any incentive to think that either member of DX could win the title on this show. It was still above and beyond better than anything I thought it would be. A great title defense for John Cena before defending and losing the title to Sheamus of all people. Considering where we are now that he's the current WWE champion. But anyway, to Sheamus at TLC. But overall, a good show. I wouldn't say it's must-see or a show that you need to go out of your way to watch out of all the Survivor Series around this period of time. I thought it was better than probably a lot of the Survivor Series since 2005, to be quite honest with you. I thought 08 was good, but I thought 09 was better. The build was terrible. But the two Survivor Series traditional tag team elimination matches were very good. Had the right winners and put over a lot of young stars, Miz, McIntyre, Sheamus, and Kingston. Batista and Ray furthered the feud in a good angle. Taker, Jericho, and Big Show, a much better than match than they really had any right to be. A much better match than had any right to be. The women's match was fun for what it was, and the main event was spectacular. So, you know what? I would suggest you go out of your way to watch the show. I know Survivor Series is come and gone. This is going up on Tuesday. But it's still a great match. If anything, watch it for that one match in the main event. It was an awesome, awesome match for the overall show. I'm not just saying this because I kind of grew up on these pay-per-views in the early 08, 09 era. Because this year in wrestling was not good at all, but in 2009, this was an above-average show, and like I said, a lot better of a show than the buy rates reflected it as, because the build was fucking sucked. But yeah, definitely check it out when you wish, when you have the time on the WWE Network. So we'll be back tomorrow with my review of Survivor Series 2010. We're quickly coming to a close here with my reviews of the Survivor Series pay-per-views. 2010 is tomorrow on Saturday. It's 2013. 2011 I talked about last year, and 2012 I talked about last year. So Saturday is my review of Survivor Series 2013. I'll have a hell of a fun time reviewing that because that show is one of my least favorite pay-per-views of all time as a fan. So 2013 on Saturday, and on Sunday, Survivor Series 2014 before moving forward into my reviews of... Forgot what I'm talking about. Originally, I was going to be reviewing the Slammy Awards, but I might just do that something for the website because I've already talked about a couple Slammy Awards here on the channel and also on the website, so we'll see. Maybe just reviewing the 08 and 08 awards, the Slammy Awards, and the 09 Slammy Awards, but we'll see. The pay-per-views, I might be reviewing Armageddon, I feel like. I forgot what it was. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm looking forward to it, though. And I'll let you guys know once I find out more about the upcoming WrestleRant schedule as December gets closer. But anyway, guys, before we go off the air here, be sure to check me out on Twitter at WrestleRant. Follow me there. Find me on Facebook. Give the page an all thumbs up at facebook.com/graham.gsham.matthews. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All support is greatly appreciated. As I plugged before, be sure to visit the website at nextairwrestling.net. My full in-depth analysis of this past Sunday's Survivor Series show, including my reviews of 2011, 2012, 2013, and 2014. So with all that being said, folks, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.